The story revolves around a boy Dong-soo, who possesses extraordinary powers. He was humming a song composed by himself while walking towards the bus station. Meanwhile, some people come and pick him up. Actually, these people used to kidnap people and sell their organs. They take Dong-soo to a doctor, and the surgeon removes all the organs from his body. Dong-soo was almost dead, but the strange thing was that he was watching the doctor do all this. The doctor also removed his eyes and placed them in a tray, then went to talk on the phone. Then strange webbed tentacles started coming out of Dong-soo's body and his body started healing itself. The doctor gets scared seeing this and starts putting his eyes back in their place. While the doctor was searching for his other eye, Dong-soo escapes from there. A few days later, an incident happens. Someone had placed a statue of a beautiful woman in the middle of the road. Everyone was clicking her picture as she looked extremely attractive, but as people clicked her picture, the statue started bleeding. It is then revealed that she was not a statue but a human being who was turned into a statue. The news slowly spreads everywhere and the police also reaches there. The inspector investigates the matter deeply and they find two symbols -P and N. Then Dong-soo is shown who has a bandage on his eye and is living a sad life. One night, while he was practicing his song, his eye suddenly starts hurting and he sees the same symbol which was on the statue's body. He also sees many more things and it is revealed that a person has Dong-soo's eye. This was the reason that whatever the person was doing was visible to Dong-soo. He goes to his job, which was in a junkyard. During this time some people were beating his friend, and Dong-soo tries to save him. He too is beaten badly and one person takes out a knife and tries to kill Dong-soo. But Dong-soo fights them and during this fight his ear is cut. His ear falls on the ground. Seeing this, everyone runs away in fear. After they leave, Dong-soo picks up his ear and reattaches it with his strange powers. At the same time, people who used to trade organs were also searching for Dong-soo, because they had come to know that his body and organs were special. Any injury, his body used to heal itself, and the price of such a body was in crores in the market. After the fight, Dong-soo returns home, where he was practicing his song, but he did not remember the correct lyrics of the song. So he listens to the song again and starts practicing. Meanwhile, he sees an image of the person who has his eye, and he was also listening to his song. The pain in Dong-soo's eye starts increasing, so he decides to go back to the place where he was taken, and try to get his eye back. The people who were after him recognize him and try to catch him. As he runs away from them, a girl named Lee comes and saves him. She says, "I know you are Dong-soo," and then cuts a cut on his leg with a knife. But the wound heals in a short while and Dong-soo runs away. After this, Dong-soo sees a book in his vision, which contains instructions on how to kill people and make idols of them. It was clear that the person who has Dong-soo's eye is killing people and putting up their statues in the city. A girl is seen going to her office and listening to Dong-soo's song as the song has gone viral. On the way, she sees another statue in the city, of a recently killed person. She tells all this to her friend Mr. Jean, who has bad habits but still likes him. She sings Dong-soo's song in front of Mr. Jean and his eyes start hurting. Meanwhile, Dong-soo's eyes also start hurting and it becomes clear that Mr. Jean is the person who has Dong-soo's eye and is killing people in the city. It is also revealed that Dong-soo's eyes recognize his song, so whenever the song plays, his eyes try to connect with it, causing him pain. One day, Dong-soo sees the word corpse art in his vision, and when he searches for it on the internet, he finds out that the person who is killing people in the city and making sculptures out of them is none other than Mr. Jean. After learning this, the next day Dong-soo meets a friend of Mr. Jean and recognizes her because he saw her in his dream. He asks her who she was with yesterday evening. The girl doesn't tell him anything and walks away in fear because she thinks Dong-soo is flirting with her. Dong-soo doesn't even know what the killer looks like. He goes to a fortune teller and tells him about the symbols and dates on which the murders took place. The fortune teller explains that all these events are connected and says that tomorrow's date also matches those dates. Dong-soo realizes that another murder is going to take place tomorrow, but he doesn't know where or when. Meanwhile, Mr. Jin's friend who likes him goes to his house and finds a book on how to turn dead people into statues. She realizes that Mr. Jin is behind all the murders in the city. The next day, another statue is put up in the city and people gather to see it. The gang that was looking for Dong-soo also arrives and sees him. They try to capture him and are about to kill him when Lee arrives and saves Dong-soo once again. Lee tells Dong-soo, "I'm a novelist and I'm writing a novel called Connect about superhumans who can reconnect even when their body parts are separated." Lee saved Dong-soo, so he thanks him and takes her number and leaves from there. On the other hand, Mr. Jin's friend looks worried as she had found out the truth. So Mr. Jin takes her with him to the rooftop. She says, "I know everything who you have eliminated. I know about all those idols." While she was saying all this, a person was listening to her. But suddenly her phone rings and Mr. Jin sees her. Mr. Jin catches hold of her and beats her badly and then pushes her off the rooftop. Seeing all this, her friend faints. At the same time, her phone rings on which she had Dong-soo's song on. As the song plays, both Dong-soo and Mr. Jin start having pain in their eyes, due to which Dong-soo sees a vision. He sees that Mr. Jin has brutally killed 2 people. Seeing this, Dong-soo reaches Mr. Jin's office. Everyone there finds out about the murder, there is a commotion, and the police also arrive on the scene. Meanwhile, Dong-soo recognizes Jin's coat and follows him to the bathroom. Though he hasn't seen his face yet, the police arrest Dong-soo because they think he is responsible for the murders. Dong-soo says, "Look, I didn't commit any murders. The real killer is in the bathroom," but no one believes him. And how can we forget Lee, who once again saves Dong-soo? On the other hand, Mr. Jin is seen in his office upset because he thought there was no one else on the roof. His eye hurts while he is listening to Dong-soo's song, and he realizes that his eye is the root of all the problems. That eye was transplanted, which means that the person who has the other eye can see everything that Mr. Jin is doing. One day, Dong-soo takes Lee to his house and tells him everything, starting with his childhood story. He tells how he fell from a tree one day and broke his leg, but it healed itself, which made all his friends call him a monster. His family also left him. He also tells Lee about the night when some people kidnapped him and took out his eye, which is now with Mr. Jin. Mr. Jin is the one who is killing everyone in the city, and Dong-soo wants him arrested, but he doesn't know anything about him. Lee is shocked to hear all this and says, "Don't worry, I'll accompany you." She puts glasses on Dong-soo and says, "No one will make fun of you anymore. People won't recognize you." But when they go to the market to buy something, there are posters of Dong-soo and the police are looking for him. Suddenly, his eye starts hurting. He sees Mr. Jin drawing his picture and warning him to stay away or he will be killed. Dong-soo also learns when the next murder is going to happen. At night, when Dong-soo goes out to look for Mr. Jin, he finds a man singing his song. As he listens to the song, his eye starts hurting again and the next moment he sees Mr. Jin. He chases him to catch him, but the police arrive and arrest Dong-soo. Now he is in deep trouble. He could not tell that he sees visions and that Mr. Jin is behind all these murders. Now in the jail he is beaten badly, but Dong-soo repeatedly says, "I did not commit any murder. I know who the real killer is." The inspector listens to him and takes him to the roof, where Dong-soo tells him everything that Mr. Jin has his eye and he is the killer. He shows his hand to the inspector, which he breaks and which immediately joins itself. The inspector is shocked to see all this. After this, Dong-soo tries to catch Mr. Jin by jumping from the roof, because he knew that even if he gets injured his body will heal itself. On the other hand, Mr. Jin goes to the doctor who transplanted Dong-soo's eye. Here the flashback is shown, when Mr. Jin went to the doctor and told him about the need of the eye. The doctor then transplanted Dong-soo's eye to Mr. Jin as an experiment. When Mr. Jin finds out about this, he kills the doctor. The gang that is after Dong-soo also comes in search of the doctor and finds the doctor's dead body. They realize that Mr. Jin has killed the doctor. Now Lee and Dong-soo are also searching for the doctor. Lee sees a man who was being chased by an organ trafficking gang approach Dong-soo. Lee catches him and kills him. On the other hand, Dong-soo was happy because his song was about to be launched by his favorite singer. Meanwhile, Mr. Jean dials a number and it is visible to Dong-soo. This is where they talk for the first time, and Dong-soo asks him, "Why are you killing people?" Mr. Jean reveals that he is a cancer patient and says, "If I can't live because of this disease, no other person can either. Look how I will kill people." Now the police find the body of the man who was killed by Lee, and they also get evidence against Mr. Jean. When Lee meets Dong-soo, she makes a cut on her neck and it heals quickly. This meant that Lee was also a connect. She says, "Maybe there are more people like us." On the other hand, Mr. Jean goes to the same singer who called Dong-soo and kidnaps the singer by disguising himself as Dong-soo. He warns Dong-soo that if he does not reach him by night, he will kill the singer. The organ trafficking gang captures Dong-soo, but Lee says, "You leave, I will handle them." Lee confronts the goons, but they get happy as one of the men makes a cut on her face and it starts healing. Now not just Dong-soo, but also Lee had become a valuable source for them, and they wanted to earn a lot of money by selling her organs. Lee overpowers them and escapes from there. On the other hand, the police also get all the evidence against Mr. Jean. They find out that Mr. Jean is roaming around as Dong-soo, and Dong-soo reaches the place where Jean had called him. He knew that Mr. Jean cannot fight and he kills people only by taking advantage of their fear. Then Mr. Jean releases a gas there, due to which Dong-soo falls unconscious, and Jean takes him with him. Lee also goes to a demon and says, "Now it is time for you to wake up." He was like Dong-soo and Lee, and she takes him with her. Jean also takes Dong-soo to the place where he had kept the singer. The doctor's body was hanging there, and his killer was planning to turn it into a statue. Dong-soo apologizes to the singer after seeing him in such a state. Jean says, "I am a cancer patient and will die soon, so I will use Dong-soo's body and transplant my brain into his body. The body will be Dong-soo's, but the brain will be mine." He cuts off Dong-soo's finger and shows it to the singer, then locks them in a freezer, killing the singer, and Dong-soo gets furious. Dong-soo is now free and beats up Mr. Jean badly. Meanwhile, Lee reaches there with the monster, and Jean finds out that Lee is also connected. He attacks him, but Dong-soo beats him again. Jean keeps shooting at Dong-soo, but Dong-soo recovers each time. Dong-soo finally snatches Jin's eye and is about to kill him when the police inspector arrives and tries to stop him. He tells Dong-soo, "Your record will be cleared, you can start your life again." Lee and Dong-soo feel that everything is fine now, but as they are leaving, they see several military helicopters. They also found out about the connection and come to capture them. What will be the next chapter? What will the military do to them? We will know all this in Season 2. This is where the story of Season 1 ends.